is where we are. Little summary from yesterday for all of the newcomers. I'm going to say this very quickly because I already said this yesterday. You get ideas from Allison. She'll tell you everything. Great. So yesterday we started saying we're the chosen people. That's beautiful. Why did God make it so hard, right? Why do we have so many mitzvot? And we said, first of all, let's understand what a mitzvah is, right? The word mitzvah, we says, comes from the root tzav. Tzav means order or connection. By definition, when someone tells you to do something, you don't want to do it, right? And therefore, God commanded you to do all of these 613 commandments with millions and millions and millions and millions of ramifications, so that at every second of your life, even though you don't want to do it, you do it because you yearn for connection with God, right? The fact that I don't want to do it, it's what allows me to choose God over myself, right? And therefore, I develop a relationship. Therefore, we said, in order for a mitzvah to be a mitzvah, I have to be doing it because God said so. Because if not, I'm not relating to God. That makes sense, okay? If I'm only keeping kasher because I think it's healthy, or I'm only giving back objects because I'm an honest person, is that allowing me to relate to God? No, I am a good person, but I'm not really doing a mitzvah, right? This is why the Torah says a person should always say, I would eat pig, but God doesn't let me. Because really, why don't you eat pig? Maybe you do, okay, but you won't soon, right? Why do you eat pig? Because God said you shouldn't, and if God said you should, then you should. Of course you should, right? The whole point of a mitzvah is to develop a relationship with God. The first part of developing a relationship is acknowledging there's someone else to develop a relationship with. And therefore, if I do a mitzvah without having awareness or conscience that it is a mitzvah, I'm not really doing a mitzvah. I could be dressing modestly, but I didn't keep tzniut. I could be eating things that are kosher, but I didn't really keep kashrut. Because obviously, it's like having money in the bank, but I don't know I have money in the bank. Do I have money in the bank? No money in the bank, okay? And that's a rap song, which we will not rap right now. Great! This is why we said, and then we finish saying, right? If I have money in the bank, but I don't know I have it, I don't really have it. If I do a mitzvah without knowing it's a mitzvah, I didn't really do a mitzvah, because I had no idea. Didn't relate to anyone. By the way, this is why we said, right? You could be becoming a better person, but the whole idea of mitzvot is at the moment of doing it. Why do you do it? Because God said so. Because this trains you to let go of your own will. And ultimately, if you do this, then you could really be a good person. Because we said, most people say, oh, but I'm a good person. I don't need to be religious. But we said that's not true, right? Can you really be a good person without God? We said no. You have a moral compass, but it changes according to your needs, right? Last year you said, I'm never going to do it. But this year you do, and much more things. Why? Because when you want something, you will change all of your moral understanding and whatever is right and wrong according to your needs and whatever you want. In order to be good, we said, this is what I said yesterday, so I'm going very quickly. Goodness cannot be defined by what I consider good, because everyone thinks they're good people. You know, Hitler for sure thinks he's much better than Mother Teresa, right? But goodness needs to be defined by God. God is the ultimate objective truth, and therefore, by definition, I can only be God. Good, ultimately, there's God, if I follow God. If there's no God, then I'm defining it, and you know, definitions change according to everywhere we go. We said lots of things. Great, moving on. Now I start speaking slower. Great. So we still ask many questions. I haven't finished all of them, so let's go. Why do we have so many mitzvot? So we said a mitzvah is God commands you. You don't want to do it. You do it because you want connection, right? Everyone has this in mind. Beautiful. There is one idea of why we have so many mitzvot. I'm going to say something that it's like, why do we have so many mitzvot? But I'm also going to say something that proves this point that I just say. This is really cool, so pay attention. One of the reasons why we have so many mitzvot, says the Torah, is because each one of our souls matches with a specific mitzvah. You ever notice there are people that for them to pray is so easy? This is not easy for me. There are people that just like kindness. Anyone that studies special ed, like you're just a genuine kind person. Most people wouldn't be able to do that, right? There are people that are intrinsically modest. Have you ever met this? So now, you have the ability of taking that which is natural to you, develop it further, and make it for the sake of God. And the Torah says, if you do one mitzvah 100%, one. That doesn't mean you didn't do all the other ones. You tried to do all of the other ones as much as you could, but maybe you were, but maybe you were not. Listen to this. This is the trick. If you do one mitzvah 100%, you 100% go to the world to come. You hear this? Amazing. This is your golden ticket from Willy Wonka. You don't want to waste it. You do one mitzvah 100%, you 100% go to heaven. That doesn't mean I didn't do the other ones. I did. But one of them I was very specific about. I'll give you an example, right? There is a mitzvah in the Torah that says that a man cannot walk without a tzitzit, you know, the threads, for more, in a special garment, for more than 2 amot, 4 amot, whatever. It's like 6 feet, something like that. There was a guy in the Gemara, he was walking and he teared his tzitzit with his feet. He stood up in his spot until they brought him a new tzitzit. He 100% did this mitzvah. There was a famous rabbi in Israel called Rav Steinberg. He used to wear like 80 talits or something like that, 80 tzitzit. You think he was like very chubby. No, this was that tzitzit, like a million. Why? Because you know, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, everyone says a different tzitzit. He wore one of each kind, okay? So, I'm Yotze. Okay. There was a famous person in the Torah called Esau. You ever heard of Esau? He was the brother of Yaakov. The Torah says, and listen to a Gemara because it doesn't make so much sense, but now it's going to express a very, very big point. You'll see about everything we've been saying till now. The Torah says that when Esau died, he went up to Gan Eden, and the angels allowed him to go into Gan Eden. But then God came and told him, this is not your place, and he kicked him out of Gan Eden, right? So the Torah says an obvious question. If he was allowed to go into Gan Eden, why did God kick him out? If he wasn't allowed, how would the angels let him go into Gan Eden, right? Good question. So the Torah says, we know that Esau used to do a mitzvah 100%. Anyone knows which mitzvah? Respecting your parents. The Torah says that every time Yitzchak, his father, would ask for a cup of water, Esau would put nice clothing. You understand this? If your father asks you for a cup of water, you probably say, why didn't you get it yourself? Right? This is not what Esau did. You know, the Gemara brings, there was a famous rabbi called Rabbi Tarfon. He was very good in this mitzvah. One time he was walking with his mom and there was like water on the floor. So he put his hand like this so his mother wouldn't get her feet wet. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't she go around? Maybe it was just a very big puddle. But the point is, right? Esau did the mitzvah better than this rabbi. Could you imagine how well he did this mitzvah? So now, according to what I'm telling you, if you have a mitzvah 100%, you 100% go up to heaven. Yes? So Esau kept the mitzvah. He went up to heaven. The angels saw a golden ticket. They said, Faddale. You like Arabic? No? Okay. Welcome in. So now what happens? The Torah tells you just one little thing. Esau never kept the mitzvah because it was a mitzvah. But rather, how could you not respect your parents? You know, it wasn't like us people nowadays. It was like kavod, you know? Plus, he had really nice parents. He didn't do it because God said so. He did it because how could you not respect your parents? Like, especially if you have such nice parents, like Yitzchak and Rivka. So what happens? Angels only see the actions, and therefore they let him come into Gan Eden. But God, that knows the intentions of your heart, knew that it wasn't really a mitzvah, and therefore he threw him out of Gan Eden. And therefore, what do we learn from here? A mitzvah, in order to be 100%, is not just the happiness, no, the intention. Why are you doing this? But now, let me take it further, because what I'm going to say right now, it's really huge. By the way, anyone knows how Esau died? And I'm going to explain. When the sons of Yaakov died, they were going to bury Yaakov, right? In Marat, Machpelah, Hebron, whatever you want to call it. So Esau said, no, I want to be buried there. The sons of Yaakov said, sorry, you sold your birthplace, whatever. Yaakov is going to get buried here. And Esau wouldn't let Yaakov get buried. So one of the grandsons of Yaakov, called Hushin ben Dan, he was mute and deaf. Yeah? Is there a word specific for mute and deaf? I don't know. Deaf mute? No? Okay. So, maybe it's the other order. So he sees what's going on. He says, they're not letting us bury our father. It's a sin. You know, you cannot allow, when a person dies, you need to put them to rest. He took a sword and he decapitated Esau. You see how the Torah is so much soap opera? Cool. Now, he decapitated Esau. The head of Esau rolled all the way into Marat Machpelah. When you go to Hebron, to the graves of the patriarchs, this is what you're going to find there. Adam and Chava, Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah, and the head of Esau. Yes? So the Torah says, what did the head of Esau do in order to merit being buried there in the holiest place? And it answers, because the head of Esau, everything was good by there. But he didn't know how to connect it with the rest of his body and the rest of his heart. But here, everything was good. And God says, yes, you did a good act. And you do get reward. It's not like, oh, you didn't do anything. But being that you didn't connect it and you didn't understand you're doing it for the sake of God, you could respect your parents to the fullest and still live a completely immoral life. Because there was no God in your life. You just did what you thought it was right. You understand? But now let me take it to an even better level. Okay? So now let's pay attention. There's an idea in the Torah that says that the Jewish people are going to go through 4 exiles. Has everyone heard this? 4 exiles. What are the 4 exiles? Babylon, Persia, Greek, and Rome. Yes? Again, Babylon, Persia, Greek, and Rome. Ask me a question. Is there something missing? Did we only go through 4 exiles? What's missing? Egypt. Yeah, you ever thought about that one? Twice. No one ever counts this. So Torah says, great, and I'm not going to go so much into it because this is really deep. The Torah says that Egypt is the source of all exile, and all exile is included in Egypt. And therefore, all of the time that we're still in exile, we still didn't go out of Egypt. So literally, when you're going to do the Haggadah of the Pesach next year, and you say, Beshana Haba B'Yerushalayim, right? The Torah says, literally, you're supposed to go into a seder feeling as if you're in Egypt, and when you go out, you're actually praying Hashem to take you out of Egypt. Because Egypt is not just a physical state, it's an emotional and spiritual state. And all of the time that the Jewish people are still in exile, and exile means a state of disorder, things are not the way they're supposed to be. Even if we live in Israel, we're still in exile, right? Then it's as if we didn't go out of Egypt. So now if we understand what Egypt is, then we're going to understand all of exile and all of the Jewish problem. And you're going to see that pretty much everything is included. How do you say Egypt in Hebrew? Mitzrayim. I'm going to give this married to my husband. Yeshaya taught me this. So how do you say Mitzrayim? Mitzrayim. Okay? Works well, right? The word Mitzrayim means limited, restriction, metzar. You ever said Halel? Mina metzar karatiya naniva menchaviya. I'm calling you from the constricted part of my being, right? The Torah says literally someone that went into Mitzrayim could never go out. Now, obviously, we're not just talking about it physically, but we're talking about it spiritually. We're still in Mitzrayim. Why could we never go out? What was that the exile of Egypt did to us? By the way, the Torah says that Paro had the Jewish people choking from the neck. This is what the Torah says. So in a simple meaning, you're thinking, I couldn't breathe because there was so much work. But why is the metaphor choking from the neck? Now listen to how deep this is. You have to love Torah. What is the exile of Mitzrayim? Yeah? So our rabbis teach us like this. Mitzrayim has a mem at the beginning and a mem at the end. Everyone sees this? Right? Great. The first mem, it's called an open mem. Right? The open mem represents ma'asim. What does ma'asim mean? Actions. Because your actions are outside. They're in the open. They're in the public. People could see them. Yes? Everyone sees this? Right. The closed mem represents machshava. What is machshava? Thoughts. Your thoughts are contained, are inside. You cannot really fully do them. They're inside. They're contained. Right? In the middle, you have the word yetzer. Anyone knows what yetzer means? It means to form also, right? Yatzur is someone that paints or whatever. I'm not very good at this Hebrew. It says, yetzer means to form. By yetzer Hashem. I mean, I'm good at Hebrew, but not, whatever. You know what is the exile of Egypt? Check this out. It wouldn't allow us to form and connect our thoughts into actions and our actions into thoughts. You hear this? Is this not the Jewish problem? People that keep Torah don't feel Torah. People that understand Torah don't keep Torah. You know, people tell me all the time, I get it, but I don't feel it. I'm like, are you waiting for God to speak to you, to like feel it? You know? People that feel it don't do it. We're so disconnected. There's no connection. You ever notice this? From one side, by the way, you could see the world right now, we have a lot of people that are not religious. From the other side, we have a lot of people that are religious, but are lacking love, are lacking passion. It's like a horrible thing. It's like an epidemic. You know, it's like everyone is robot. You know, the Torah says, like, what is the difference between us and everyone, you know, people generations before? Because every generation is slower. But now you have women that pray 3 times a day. But you know what happens? You go, you pray, You have no idea what you said. Does this happen to everyone? You wash your hands, you start saying Asher Yatzar, you don't even know if it's Asher Yatzar. Like half of the time, we have no awareness of what we're doing, no relationship with God. It's a problem. So there's a disconnection between our actions and our thoughts. We're not really connected. We don't really know what's going on. This is where we were feeling constricted. As one of the rabbis said one time, I don't remember which rabbi, but he said something so deep. He said, the greatest distance in the world is that from your head to your heart. Is this a problem? That's our greatest distance. We don't know how to connect our head with our heart. This is why Paro had us choking from where? From where? From the neck. Because what's your neck? This is where everything flows. There was no flow. Blood couldn't go through physically, but also spiritually. You were so busy all of the time, working so hard, that he knew exactly what you do. You weren't allowed to feel. You weren't allowed to think. You weren't allowed to do anything. The Torah says that all of the time that the Jewish people were in Egypt, they didn't pray one time because they just didn't have time. By the way, if you think about it in our society, we're so distracted, we don't even know what we're doing anymore. We're so busy thinking about everybody. It's like, oh, this, college, this, work. You never stop 1 second. There's no connection. Everyone goes to therapy because no one is in touch with their own self. It's a problem. This is the Jewish problem, right? Specifically, when it comes to mitzvot, I hear it all the time. I just don't feel it. I just don't get it. There's so much disconnection. This is why, by the way, Esau was decapitated from his neck. Because Esau is the father of the greatest exile, which is the exile of Edom, right? The Romans, right? And what is the problem with this exile? Indifference. Does that make sense to everyone? Right? Right now, everything is okay, but nothing is really okay. It's an exile considered of like everything is just going on all of the time. Everyone is friends with everyone, but no one is really friends. Everyone is just, I guess, polite, whatever you want to call it. Right? This is why, check this out. What was the first mitzvah given to a Jewish people right when we went out of Egypt? Anyone knows? Not in Egypt, right when we went out. So let me tell you, because this is so interesting. Tefillim. You know this song? I got tefillim. No voice, okay? Why was tefillim the first mitzvah given to Jewish people outside of Egypt? Have you ever seen a man wearing tefillim? Okay, so they usually put it here. Have you ever seen they put their arms here? So I thought it's because the straps are short. Okay, this is what I thought. But then I learned about it. It's not because the straps are short. You're supposed to put it here. They usually put it on their left hand. I don't know lefties what they do, okay? But you ask someone that's lefty. You know what? Where do you put the tefillin? In your hand and in your head. Why in the left one? Because it's close to your heart. Because you know what's the whole purpose of tefillin? Connect your actions, your emotions, and your thoughts. And everything should be sent back to God. Because that's ultimately what it means to be a whole human being. To give everything. To just say, like, God, I'm here with you. Body, mind, and soul. Everything. Now, this is why, by the way, also, our ultimate level of our ultimate prayer, right, which is called the Abiyah, the silent prayer. Whenever we talk about prayer, this is what we're talking about. It has 18 blessings. Now, really, it has 19, but one of them is called the Shmona Esrei. Why does it have 18 blessings? So our rabbis give us many, many answers. The main answer is because you have 18 vertebrae in your spinal cord. And when you pray, you're supposed to bow down completely. And you're supposed to say, God, I'm here for you. You understand? That's what it means to do a mitzvah. I study about it. I like it. But when I do it, God, ultimately, I'm only doing it for you. Because at the end of the day, we said that's love. Love is what matters to you, matters to me, right? I just want to give. I'm so in love with you. Let's just do it. And therefore, how do I do a mitzvah? Great, let's put it together. I study, I like it. This is what's going to keep you inspired. This is what's going to keep you happy. You don't want to be a robot. But at the end of the day, when I'm doing the mitzvah, I'm pretty much a robot. Not because I don't want to think about what I'm doing. Not on the opposite. Because love is, at the end of the day, your wish is my command. Yes? Does that make sense to everyone? Beautiful. So, when it comes to the mitzvah, I only do it because God said so. But I study about the mitzvah in order to keep me happy and wanting and inspired, because again, the greatest thing in exile is indifference, it's a lack of connection, and therefore I should connect everything that I am. Beautiful, great, moving on. So, yes.
You said we're still in exile?
Yes, we're still in exile. Is Mashiach here? We're still in exile.
So then how do you quantify? How can you say that we've been through 4 exiles if we've continually been in exile?
Oh, because the exiles were divided into 4. You have Babylon, that was the destruction of the first temple. Persia, that's the story of Purim. Yeah, Greek, that's the destruction of the second temple. And from then on is Rome. And Rome has been going on forever. Inside of Rome, there's a 5th exile, but it's not counted as itself because it's included. And that's the exile of Ishmael, or also, I guess, the Arabs, right? And that's included. But Rome, it's only going to be done when Mashiach comes. And if I would teach you a lot about exile, I would. Actually, I'll teach you one thing. The Torah says that the 4 exiles are compared to the 4 animals that have one of the 2 signs that are kosher. You know this? Every animal in the world is either kosher or not kosher. Yes? That's obvious. Okay. But in order to be kosher, it needs 2 signs. Everyone knows this? There's only 4 animals in the world that has one of the 2 signs. This is, by the way, one of the things we use in order to prove that the Torah was written by God. Because we know that in order for an animal to be kosher, it has to have 2 signs. Chew its cord and split hoof. Yes? Question, if I only tell you this, in order for a kosher animal to be kosher, it needs to have split hoof and chew its cord. Is that enough for you to know who's kosher and who's not? Yes. Whoever chew its cord and has split hoof is kosher. Whoever doesn't have it is not kosher. Does that make sense? But then God, huge, goes and tells you, but there are only 4 animals in the world that have only one of these 2. By the way, you don't need to say that, because you already gave us enough information to keep the mitzvah. But by you saying that, you're putting yourself at risk. Because do we know all of the animals in the world? No, maybe you'll find one that has more than this, right? Maybe you'll find a few more. So what are these animals? The pig, he has a split hoof but doesn't chew its cord. And then the camel, the rabbit, and the quick rabbit. I don't know what's his name. You know the one with the turtle? Liebre, we called it in Spanish. Hare. I'm joking. Okay, I have to teach you Spanish, right? All of these 3, they chew their cord, but they don't have split hoof. Yes? By the way, the Gemara says, if you ever see an animal that has a split hoof, and it's not the pig, you could eat it. It's kosher. You don't even need to check if it's chew its cord. Because the only animal in the world that has a split hoof and doesn't chew its cord, it's which one? The pig. By the way, again, I don't know if you heard the greatness of this, but God totally put himself at risk there. Because how do you know? We haven't seen half of the animals yet. By the way, this was written 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. I mean, not written, given 4,000 years ago before we discovered like any continents. You know, there was no Cristobal Colon back there. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy. Okay, we did not get to Africa. Okay, there was no Sephardi Jews. There was no Ashkenazi. We were all one. That was special time. Okay, but what is the point, right? Each one of these animals that has one out of the 2 represents one of the exiles, right? Now, the heaviest exile is the exile of Edom. Which animal do you think would represent that one? The pig. By the way, if I ever ask you, tell me something really non-kosher. What is the one thing that you consider really non-kosher? The pig, right? But what is the point? You know what? It's really very interesting because really the pig is as non-kosher as the camel. Both of them have only one, yes? Why is the pig like non-kosher? Interesting. You know why? Because the pig is the only one that its kosher sign is outside. It's fake. Look at me, and you know, you ever seen a piggy? They go like, I mean, I'm not doing this, but they go on the ground and they go like, you know? They go like, look at me, I'm kosher. But they're not. You didn't saw Babe, the brave pig? Babe, el puerquito valiente. You don't like Disney movies? It wasn't a Disney movie. Okay.
What's the exile of John, Rome?
Yes, Rome. But what is the point? Everyone is friends. We look so kosher. Isn't that this world? The American dream. Everything is good. You know, imagine all the people, right? Imagine what? No religion, no this, no that. We're just all friends, you know? But really, right, which has been the exile that has been hardest for us? This one. But it's so funny because it's the easiest to be Jewish. But it's the easiest to also not want to be Jewish. Because why should we want to be Jewish? There's 25 potatoes, flavored chips. Okay, cheap. Okay, you got what I just said? You understand? Yeah.
So when you refer to like animals, you're referring to like meat, because chicken and fish and like there's like other animals like.
Yes, no, when we refer to kosher animals, we refer to animals of the ground, specifically mammals, right? Every other animal, reptiles have, none of reptiles are kosher except for one type of locust. Not lobster, locust, yes? The one, the flying locust, okay? That one is kosher. Birds are explained each one by name, right? Which is also a beautiful lesson. I'll teach you kashrut at the end of this round if you people are still here, okay? Then there is the fish. We know they also have two signs. And the Torah makes the same statement. If one of the signs is there, then you know it's kosher because it has to have the other sign. How do you know? If finding earth animals was hard, imagine finding water animals. You went with a little notebook, you know, that was like waterproof and took notes. That's one of the things. When you go to a 13 principles of faith, in that level, and I teach you how we know that Torah is true, I'm going to go into all of that. Yeah?
One quick question. When you're talking about the exile story, so he did it because he wanted to be nice to his parents? He did it.
Yes, he did it. It wasn't to his parents. It was just, it's logical. Are there many things that you do because it's logical? Has any one of you killed right now? I mean, if you do, we are taking you to jail. But why don't you kill? Because you have a mitzvah to not kill? No, you don't kill because why would you kill? You understand? You do it because it's logical. But then if you would grow up in a society or, you know, go to Black Friday, right, you might end up killing someone. Because, you know, it was logical to not kill, but now I want an Xbox. You understand? So I'll kill for the Xbox. We gave an example of an Xbox yesterday. I don't think I'm just making this up. Yeah.
100% needs to be 100% what? Like,
100% means 100% I'm doing it for God. You know, I don't allow any of myself to come in. Now, that doesn't mean you cannot like a mitzvah. You should like all of the mitzvot. But when you're doing them because you like them, right, you're putting yourself at risk of only doing what you like. You're taking from the mitzvah. You understand? It's not a pure mitzvah. It's like when you come to my house for Shabbat and what you bring me a cake. What do people bring? The cake they like. What if I don't like the cake? Who cares? Is it a cake for me? It's a cake for you. You understand? You ever come to my house? I don't like chocolate cake. Only chocolate on its pure form. My husband likes chocolate cake, but he's on a diet. Forced by me. But you don't bring chocolate cake. You understand? I'm joking. But really, you understand what I'm saying? When we give, we don't really give. We give what we would like to give. You know what I'm saying? That's not giving. That's a fake giving. If you give to someone, you have to think about the receiver. Whenever you give, and by the way, I'm not teaching you a class about giving, but giving is thinking about what the other person wants to receive. And if the other person doesn't need to receive anything, I give you what I think you would like to receive. It would make you happy because giving, it's only thinking about the receiver. In this day and age, we're all takers. Even when we give, we're thinking about what I want to give. I'm telling you, everyone, what do they bring me for Shabbat? And again, I don't care. I make every day. I don't need people to bring me. But what do I bring you? Either something they want to eat, and you know this because they get so offended when you don't bring out their gift. Maybe I want to keep it. Or they bring you like, you know, like the cheapest thing they found, like the rugales on sale. Never bring people store-bought rugales unless they're marzipan. You know what I'm saying? But the other ones, disgusting. It's like, oh, you know, like, what, you understand? Again, the one that's, if you come to my house for Shabbat, let's say, I don't expect anything, and I shouldn't expect anything, but the giving is for you. You have to learn how to give. You understand? One has to learn how to give, the other one has to learn how to not want. But we give really thinking about what we want. This is why we're not really giving. Yes? Yes.
Say that you choose a mitzvah that you really do love and you do wholeheartedly. You do that mitzvah, you don't take it from you because you want to love that.
No. So I said, you love it, you want it, it's good. But at that moment of doing it, you let go of all of these thoughts and you said, why am I doing it? Just for you. You understand?
So it's as long as you don't take it for yourself.
You're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it just for God. I'm saying no, the one mitzvah you do 100%, you should pick one that it's easier for you. Why am I if I don't like visiting all people, do I have to force myself to visit all people? No. You know, I could do chesed in any way. I don't have to force myself to, except it's like, oh, I don't like eating kosher, so I'm not going to eat kosher. No, obviously not, because you understand? But if your soul, it's, you know, it likes more a certain mitzvah. That's the mitzvah that you could use in order to do it 100%. But the whole test is, as we said yesterday, are you doing it because it comes natural to you? Or are you doing it because God said so? You understand?
It comes naturally, then good for you.
good for you, but then your ultimate training is, even though it comes natural, I'm doing it because God said so. You understand? That's the ultimate choice. It does come natural, but that's exactly why God, even though it comes natural, I'm doing it for you. You understand? You gave me this affinity, but I'm doing it for you.
So you have to know you're doing it for God.
Yes, that's exactly the point. Great. So let's just finish with all of the theories, and then tomorrow I'm teaching you still about mitzvot, but something else. Mitzvot are divided into 3 categories. Okay, I haven't finished with why do we have so many mitzvot. I'll finish this tomorrow. Mitzvot are divided into 3 categories. The first one is edut. Yes? Edut are the mitzvot that we call the testimonies. It comes from the word ed. Ed means witness. This is what I like to call the religious mitzvot. Which mitzvot fall into this category? All of the mitzvot that you would never think about doing, except they're like a result of something in history. You know, like eating matzah, whatever. Now, do remember that I said 2 weeks ago, it is not that we ate matzah because we went out of Egypt, but rather we went out of Egypt because we needed to eat matzah. But the mitzvah comes with this context in order for us to keep them in a better way. Okay, this is the first type of mitzvot. They're testimonies, the religious mitzvot. We know for sure that it had to be God that wrote the Torah. Because who would ever think about eating matzah on the 15th of Nisan? You know, even though I really love matzah. When you put butter on cheese, top. But since I married my husband, I don't like matzah anymore because he only lets me eat handmade matzah. You ever hate handmade matzah? It's easier to swallow because it's so thin and burnt. So you just want to get rid of it. Okay, I'm joking. The Yemenite matzah is the worst. It's like this thin, thick bread. Who's Yemenite here? No one? Okay, they have like this matzah that looks like pizza dough, but like gone wild. It's elastic, you know, like not good. Okay? That's one, okay? Second type of mitzvot are called mishpatim. Okay, who knows Hebrew? Great. Who said this? Alison, not only rubbish, you know. Mishpat. You people make me work so hard doing this thing in like square. You're lucky I am a nice person. But you know, we only have a quota of niceness. Mine is finishing soon, so then I go back into writing cursive. This is why I'm not nice to my husband. I use it all in the way. Poor guy. Okay. Mishpatim are all of the mitzvot between you and your neighbor. As she said, it is sentences, but pretty much it's laws of living. Could you call it that way? You know, like you have a law, you cannot steal or you cannot eat kashrut, but then you have one that is between you and your neighbor. Is there statutes? Isn't it called statutes? Yes? Okay, great.
Wait, what was one again?
Edut are testimonies, mishpatim are statutes. The category is all of the mitzvot that have to do between you and your neighbor. The parasha in which God gives us the Torah, it's called parasha Yitro. The next parasha is called parasha Mishpatim. Says Rashi, the main commentary, why? Just so you know that just as God gave you all of the mitzvot of like keep Shabbat, do this, do that, He also gave you all of the mitzvot of this. Right? Now again, why do I need God to command me how to live? Wouldn't I know that? No, you wouldn't. Okay? You're totally conditioned to a place where you grew up with, right? You're totally conditioned to your own needs, your own desires, and therefore you need God to dictate goodness. Now people ask me all of the time, oh, but how do I know what is good? How do I know what is bad? The Torah gives you rules and like specific, detailed, oriented everything for you to be able to live a right life. If you steal, how did you steal? If you do this, if you do that. If you study Torah, everything is in it. And again, you have to know that this is also from heaven. Because if you do not do this, then the Torah says, if you don't have one set of rules, the world would eat each other alive. Everyone would just do whatever they want. And again, I told you this many times. Not because you believe in something, it means that something is true. Believing in something doesn't make it real. This is not like Disney World, okay? You could believe in princesses. I believed in them all of my life. I still haven't met any of them. You understand? Ellie. I met Ellie Sporty Spice. Okay. Number 3. It's called chok. Anyone knows what a chok is? It's like laws. This is what it is because last week we had a parasha that only spoke about chukim, right? The red cow. By the way, if you ever open up the parasha, it says, Sot chok Torah. This is the rule of the Torah. Rashi says it should have said this is the rule of the red cow. Because which mitzvah is he presenting? The red cow. Why does it say this is the rule of the Torah? This is very important. For you to understand that even though you do understand other mitzvot, when you approach them as if you didn't understand them, just as the red cow. Because what is the ultimate way of serving God? I just do it because you said so. Exactly like the red cow, right? Chukim are what really give you the ability of serving God for the sake of greatness, of purity. Because I have no idea what these rules are. I only do it because God said so. By the way, usually chukim are translated as rules for which we have no understanding or we cannot understand. I don't like this translation because that would be saying that God is irrational. The fact that you cannot understand the mitzvah doesn't mean that the mitzvah cannot be understood. It just means you lack the intellect in order to understand it. You understand this? This is very important. Chok is a mitzvah for which we lack the ability to understand its essence. But there's still so many things you could understand, and I'll prove this to you in 1 second, right? Chok are also a proof that it had to be God that wrote the Torah. Because who would have ever thought that if you're impure, you should take a red cow, burn it, throw the ashes, and my kesher, I've never even seen a red cow in my life. You understand? We'll do this in 1 second. By the way, each mitzvah in the Torah has 3,000 reasons. You could know one of them. It doesn't mean you know all of them. Chok is a mitzvah for which we lack understanding of the essence. We could still understand lots of the side points. By the way, give me some famous choks. I'll teach you a few of them. What are some famous choks? Anyone knows? Kosher. I'm going to teach this at one point. What else? Why do you keep kosher? Now, even if you understand the health part, the ever part, if you really think about this, meat and milk, what is this connection? Or the whole process of how you kosher something, how you shecht it. I'm going to teach you a class on this. What else is a famous chok? Has anyone ever heard of this thing called sha'atnes? You're not allowed to wear wool and linen in any piece of your clothing. If you ever buy a piece of clothing that says in the ingredients, do you call it ingredients? No. Materials, either wool or linen, it just says, if it says wool or linen, you don't buy it, it's forbidden. If it says wool or linen, you have to go check it to make sure there's not a thread of the other material, right? By the way, suits like Hugo Boss, they like wearing them in Panama, usually have Chanel, both. And it's usually if they have a thread, you just take it to a lab and they take out the thread, but Hugo Boss or whatever, which they use Jewish slave labor during the Holocaust, you should just know this in order to make Hugo Boss. And Hugo Boss made all of the outfits of all of the Nazis. I don't know if you know this, but I'm just telling you. Okay, but the point is, right? So if it has a lot, then you cannot just use the uniform. You know this? The suit, right? So now people say, really? You cannot wear wool and linen. What is this? So it's a chok. What, you don't like wool and linen, God? Doesn't look good together. So now let me tell you a side point, right? Because I told you, chok, you don't have the essence. But you have a side point. By the way, the side point is so nice. It's good enough for me, okay? Why not wool and linen? There were these two brothers in the history, the first two brothers that existed, called Cain and Hevel. Yes? You know Cain and Hevel, the sons of Adam? They didn't like each other. Both of them brought korbanot, sacrifices to God. God liked Hevel's korban and didn't like Cain's korban. Cain got really mad. He stood up and killed his brother. Okay, this is pretty much the story. It's obviously much deeper than this. The Torah says that Cain brought a korban out of the best of the ground. What do you find in the ground? Says Rashi, it was flax seeds. You know, what do you make out of flax seeds? Linen. You know this? Not chia seeds. Flax seeds, you make linen. Hevel brought the best of the sheep. What do you have from the sheep? Wool. You know what wool and linen did? Hatred, fight, jealousy. You can't wear it together. You know why you can't wear it together? Because you don't have the ability to fight against it. We know that all of the time that the temple is not built is because of which sin? Baseless hatred. That started with Cain and Hevel. Oh, I don't like you because you brought something and God didn't like me. So you don't wear it because you have it inside of yourself. Is that true? But who had to wear wool and linen in their outfit? Not could, but had to? The Kohen Gadol. Because what was the job of the Kohen Gadol? Harmony, peace. The Kohen Gadol, the first one who was Aaron, he represented love of your fellow without having any conditions. You understand? So it's not the essence, but is that good enough? You like wool and linen? You like wool and linen. Yeah.
So you're saying you can't wear wool and linen together? You can't wear a wool sweater with a...
No, in the same garment. But I don't know of the rules about this. Maybe you cannot do that either, but I know it's specifically on the same garment. Yes. But I don't know all of these rules. I just don't buy wool and linen. I mean, but maybe you cannot wear it also like a pant made out of wool and a thing made out of linen. I don't really know this. Maybe you could. Sorry, I don't know. Yeah? Great, you understand? Another famous chok, the red cow. But now you could know something special. Why red? Because why do you sin? Because of your passions. What is the color of passion? Red, right? Red is the color that is the closest to light. When you sin, you're worshiping yourself. Red, it's fake God. You think you're God, right? Why do you burn it? Because your passion consumes you. You ever saw the hunchback of Notre Dame? When the priest is consumed by Esmeralda, hail fire. So you consume it with fire. Why do you throw the ashes? Right? Because passions are a good thing, but if you know how to use it. Why a cow? Because what was the greatest sin of the Jewish people? Golden calf. Let the mom come and clean the dishes for her son. You understand? Now the essence, I didn't got it, but I got lots of points of that side points. Right? Great. We'll continue tomorrow. Any questions? No. Bye-bye.